We will begin our chart by creating a 10 by 10 grid. So go to Extension, Render, Cartesian Grid. Now from here you can set your major X divisions to 10. Your division spacing will be 18. And now we're going to come down, check all of your subdivisions and stuff as you go. Your major Y will be 18. We set that to 10. You're doing this to 18 and this to 18 as well so that you have a square grid. And set your border thickness to 2 for the border all the way around your grid. Click Apply. You'll notice that I've already zoomed in. If you haven't, come down here and zoom in until you are very close in on your grid. Now, to begin with, I am going to create a horizontal guide. And so I'm looking to try to get this right in the middle of the very top line right here. Double click on that, and then I'm going to adjust this Y so that it's very precise. It's 664. Now, what I will do is I'm going to create my horizontal guide so that they are at the 1/3 point for each of these lines. And so this is 1/3 here, then 1/3 here, and then 1/3 here. First, I know that 18 divided by 3 is 6, and so I'm going to take 664 and subtract 6. And that will give me 658. And that sets your first grid, your first guideline. Now, I am going to come over here. I'm going to create the first of my vertical guides all the way at the very edge. So it's not in the middle, you want it on the very edge of your grid. Double click. And then verify that this is a whole number. That's 284. Now, I'm going to offset this by 4 pixels this direction, moving to my left. And so I'm going to set this to 280. Tell that OK. And so that gives me that little bit of an offset there. Now, I'm going to create my very first layer. So I'm going to go to Layer, Layers. Now we'll add a new layer, and I am just going to call this NUM, numbers. Well, maybe I'll just go ahead and write the whole thing here. And so now I have my numbers layer. I like to move my numbers layer so that it is below my grid. And now I'm going to lock the grid. You can rename this if you want to. I normally just leave it named Layer 1. And so the only grid that you will ever have opened, or unlocked rather, is the grid that you're currently is the layer that you're currently working on. Now, I'm going to come down to and click on my alphabet symbol, draw a little box, label that 10. I normally stick with Arial or Helvetica for my numbers, whichever you prefer. Set that to 12. And then I'm going to do a right align. So that you change the alignment so that this is a right align for this side of your grid, and it's a left align for this side of your grid. Now, make sure I have my snapping highlighted up here, which it is. And just do a really quick eyeball of that to make sure that it's in the center, which it is. Now, I can create my remaining grids by coming down and double clicking on them, and then doing 658, which is the value of this guide, my very first one, and subtract that by 18. Guides is to get your numbers. You will always work so that you complete one layer multiple layers at one point is definitely a recipe for disaster, because these guides will move depending on which layer you're working at and what the purpose of that layer is. And so you will be separating out with layers, which is a little different of a different perspective than what we were doing in some of the more simple grids and charts. So I'm just going to keep moving down until I have all of these grids ready. This is 514. Oops. So I need to create a second one here for 532. I normally just leave them there when that happens and add one. Great. Another one. This would be 496. And you'll notice that I'm getting pretty close to where they need to be, but you really do want to go in and set these manually, or you'll have every other row will kind of look like a little bit of a wave, just because you have a little bit of an offset from your eyeballs. And so we kind of want to avoid that if we can. Now, I am going to drag me down one more so that it is right below that. So you can see this right flush with the edge right here. Then double click, and 483 is the value. Now you're going to do 483 plus 4 so that you have that same offset all the way around. Change that to a 7. I'm sorry, 483 minus 4, which makes that 479. Okay. And so that gives you that final offset there. And then you're going to drag out another guide so that it's flush. And you can all see I'm now following Marty. Oh well. So you can see that this is flush. And now I'm going to double click on this. Change this 466